This morning, I want you to hear a marvelous testimony of how God set one man free from the voices in his head. And I'm going to ask that young man to come at this time. He's already been at the front once, and I found this is when you preached the first time at the church here, back in July. Picture here, and I want you to take a couple of minutes and tell the people your experience and give them hope in their lives.
I think this is the most I've ever been called up here, so my
Hey, you've been hired as the intern. And Linda and I are going on vacation, and you're going to be spending the month of January doing everything.
Actually, had my own experience with those thoughts too, and basically, it all started when I was 9. I was molested when I was 9 by my neighbor, and because of that incident, I ended up living my life just kind of like trying to run away from that moment, not thinking about that moment, and what ended up leading to is just a lot of drinking, then drinking led to drugs, and then I was doing so well at suppressing that day of what happened to me. I would now eventually start to get thoughts in my head saying it's like, you're not good enough, no one loves you, no one cares about you, it's like, why do you do the things that you do, right? So then I ended up becoming a people pleaser, trying to prove those voices wrong. It's like, no, I am lovable, people do care about me, and which led me into doing a lot of wicked things. Like, it's just that end up waking up the next day, I'm like, why did I do that? What am I trying to prove? But I do remember it got so bad, especially during COVID, and to the point where like I would just be on my couch with my blanket over my head all day long, just trying to block out those voices, but I couldn't, right? Because like there was no more going out to bars, there was no more seeing people. So as I was in there in my house, my room, the voice got louder and louder and louder. Until eventually my friend Christian gave his life to Christ and started preaching the good news about Christ to me. And it took about it took a pretty long process. Well, what I thought was long, but like a year and a half of just giving my life to Christ, continue to reading the Bible. That eventually He was able to set me free from those thoughts. And how that happened was actually very interesting, because as I was, I would remember even going to church, I would still get the thoughts, and it would overwhelm me. And I would close my eyes and say, Jesus, help me. Like, I need help right now. Like, these thoughts are coming into my mind. And He would come in and just kind of fill them with the truth, right, from either Bible verses, or He'll just speak to me. And I remember one time He told me, he told me what I needed to do. And what I needed to do was to basically expose the darkness, right, by telling my friends about it, and especially my parents, right, because I didn't want them to know. Like, imagine you having a child and finding out something like that happened to your child. Like, how much hurt would you feel, that you couldn't protect them? And they didn't do anything wrong. So I didn't want to tell them that. I didn't want them to go through that. So then when the Lord told me that, like, by your mother's birthday, you need to tell her everything, gave me about like 2 or 3 months to kind of build up the courage to do it. And I was terrified. I was like, I can't do this. Like, I can't tell my mom this. So, but the only thought that what came into my mind in that moment is like, okay, what happens if I don't tell my mom by this day? Like, what's gonna happen? But also, what happens if I do tell my mom, right? So now it's like trying to, well, what do I want? What kind of results do I want to see? So I continued to pray and pray, and on the very last day, which was my mom's birthday, I picked up the phone and I called her. And I was sobbing for about like a good 2 hours while on the phone, and she was shocked. Like, she didn't know any of this that was going on in my life, like that I was doing. And she pretty much just said, forget about the past. It's done now. Like, let's continue moving forward with Jesus. You have Him now. So, and I remember waking up the next day, and I was driving, and out of nowhere, I started thinking, like, how come I don't hear anything? I was like, I've been driving for like an hour, and it's been peace and quiet. And I was like, this is weird. I thought it was just out of the blue, random, whatever. So I was like, whatever. The thought's not there. There's no thoughts, I mean. And eventually, it ended up being a few more days. It was calm. My mind was calm in weeks. The next thing you know, like a year later. And I can still feel those thoughts creeping back in sometimes. But as I continue to read the Bible, as I continue to seek Jesus, I start to see more of the truth in His words. I am loved, I am cared for, and God has chosen me, right? And He wanted to give me life. So if anyone is like kind of like going through those kind of thoughts, like, I ask you to just like, we are a body of Christ. We're here to help and to encourage each other. and also to dive into the Word. You know, God will expose the darkness in your life, and He will reveal the truth in that too. So.
Good. Thank you so much, Ian. We appreciate you sharing.